Hello everyone, here we are back with episode 3 of the Story Scraps challenge, which is turning out to be such good fun. Now, what I've done is I did go and print the 4 freebies again, and I cut them out and prepped them while I was waiting for the challenge to pop up on YouTube for us. So I'm kind of pre-prepared. Now, I'm also using coffee dyed paper as a backing, but I don't know if you can see. Yes, I'm sure you can. There is a lovely sort of textured pattern on here, because what I did was I dyed the sheets of the old sheets of watercolor paper in coffee, and then once it was all dried and I felt like it, I actually splattered with a cup with coffee in it. So it's given me this design, and I rather fancy it. So I'm going to be naughty, and I'm going to leave a little space around the focal images, like for example this little one. I would put it like that, possibly something here, but I just want to leave a little bit around the picture. As I said, breaking rules, but you know, let's for example say I'm going to do that. That is the kind of thing I might do, or not. Depends on what what I decide at the end of the day. But there's going to be a fair amount of speeding up through here, because as you can imagine, this is quite a fiddly little operation, and I think it's going to be something that could become boring if I'm not chatting away and doing interesting things. So that is possibly what's going to be happening. But now that I've shown everybody all the pretty things that we're going to play with, I'm going to turn my sheets around. I'm using this colored cardboard as a base because it's not reflecting my light. As you can see on here, there's quite a bit of light reflection coming from my little overhead light in this craft room of mine, which I must tell you I actually call the dungeon, because it's 2 steps down from the rest of my cottage, or 3 steps down from the rest of my cottage, and it's a tiny little space without an awful lot of natural light. So that's the story with that. Okay, I've glued down the first fairy, and now I'm just going to frame her with a couple of little pieces of the strip. I'm rather liking that. And then, what did I decide? Oh, yes. I thought that this one was rather nice up here. So that is going to be up there. There we have it. Coming along. Sorry about the ugly gluing paper. We do need something to stop it from looking too bad. Now, I have a choice. I can put this here. Or I could go off at a tangent and maybe put some of this. No, no, okay, stick with your colors, Hazel. Perhaps this should be another bit of blue. Let's put that right up against this one, so that the only space I have is like a little frame around the picture. I don't know if I'm going to like it, but it's worth a try. Let's put that on. Oops. Okay, I'm starting to get the drift now. So let me have a look at that. Let you have a look at that. Not too sure what I'm going to do. Possibly I'm going to trim off the top and maybe put a label at the bottom. But we'll come back and have a look at that just now. So I wasn't sure if I was going to like the space all the way around the focal image as much as I thought. So what I did was I made this one and quite liked it. And then I made one without the edging, which is this one here. And guess what, guys? I actually like them both. I can't make up my mind. But another thing is, oh yes, and here's the third one that I quickly put together. Now, what I have discovered is, because this is coffee dyed paper and it's a very old watercolor paper, it's quite heavy duty, the glue stick is not working as well as it could to just hold it down in the center. Things do peel up. So because I'm not going to be doing any sewing on these collage strips, I've decided that I'm going to use my craft glue and then also plan my layout very carefully. So in other words, I will kind of sort things out for each separate little collage strip, glue it down and move on to the next one. So this is going to be a reasonably short video, I imagine, because there's going to be lots of boring stuff happening in between as I decide on which little piece to use, etc., etc. But let's give it a go and see how it all turns out. Okay, so let's move these little babies out of the way. And here's the first strip that I've set out, sort of how I think I'm going to like it. But what I want to point out to you, because it's quite interesting, is this is tea dyed paper. And you can see there's the coffee dyed paper. Now, I don't know if it's showing up properly, but this has a far more yellowy, greeny tinge to it, as opposed to this one, which is more of a pinkish apricot color. It's definitely in the red spectrum. So because this little focal has a rather interesting shading around the edge of it, that goes more with the tea dyed paper, I decided to use this little strip, just this once. Anyway, this is more or less the way I want this to go. So I'm going to start off with gluing down the focal image. You can see that most of this is actually going to be kind of on the apricots pinks tone, just for a change. Well, now, of course, I can always make mistakes, can I not? And I kind of grandly announced that I was going to have to glue each little piece down separately and properly before I could move on to the next one. But even with this glue, I can put a blob in the middle and then come back to it. So we're starting to look quite good here. And I have picked up a rather interesting looking pale blue turquoisey style background here. So I'm going to scratch through my stuff and look for something with a little bit of that through it that I can add just to make a little bit of a contrast. So possibly I will be looking through the blue and green labels perhaps to see what I can uncover, because I think that will just finish this one off nicely. This one has been quite fun because I've had a couple of little cheats here that you might find interesting. This gives you an idea of what you can do. This blue strip is part of the background page, but what I did was I took a tiny little section of it that kind of looked like it could be a little mini label, and I outlined it in black with my fine liner and then cut it out and glued it down to add my little bit of blue to this particular collage strip. And then down the bottom here I put a piece of this ledger paper. It is also a strip that's in the background page there. So yes, that now these two make the green behind this flower just show a little bit more, if you've noticed. Then the other little cheat I did was I was edging my card with the stamp, and I realized that I actually hadn't edged these two pieces here. So what I did was I very, very carefully bent this over and then did that. You see, perfect. Now it looks completed, but I do want to just add a little bit more ink to the top and the sides of these trims. Okay, so that's this one completed. You can see the difference is that here we have the 3 little fairies. I'm going to do 6 of these. So these 3 little fairies are the focal images for these 3 strips, and then these 3 strips are going to have these as the focal images, so that the 3 signatures I've been talking about for my journal will each have one of each of these. So far, that's my plan. Anyway, I will complete these off camera and then I'll be back to show you the end. And here we are, the 6 collage strips that I've made for challenge number 3, episode 3 of the challenge. And yes, once again, many thanks to Witchcraft Do You Do for giving us this challenge to follow. But here we go. The first 3 where I used the little fairy girls as focal images. What I've done is I've put a few words from the little story onto each one here, so that that makes it a little bit different from the other 3, which are these 3. This one is the one done on the tea paper, the tea dyed paper. I'm quite impressed with that one. I do rather like it. Here's the one which is mostly blue, and I was able to edge it with black ink. And then I followed it on with just a little bit of purple ink. Not a lot, but just enough to make it not quite so deadly black. Put the little cup just there because I thought the little piece of ledger page had red ink on it and a red column line, so I thought, let me put this in just to bring that color onto the strip. And then this little one where I've obeyed the instructions and I've actually got no frame around the focal image. As I say, I still can't make up my mind which ones I prefer. I think I like them equally. But anyway, that is that. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did like it, please like. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. And remember, the algorithm will like me if you put a comment. Apparently comments are quite important on YouTube to make us a little bit more noticeable, and so on. So again, thank you for watching, and we'll chat again soon. So for now, let's stay well, stay safe, and bye bye.